I answered the phone after it rang 3 times. It was 3:47. I've been doing it every morning for 63 years. Found out that calls at this time never deliver excellent news. Hello there. Static noises. Go through the line. A woman's voice then came over. It's important and businesslike. Is this truly William Garrison? Hello, Mr. Garrison. My name is Patricia Chen. I like people. Someone who works at St. Paul's Hospital in Vancouver. I'm phoning about your daughter. I pushed the cell phone. My kid? Yes, sir. Hey Jennifer. She is here and wants to see you. The room trembled. I sat down right on the edge. While my wife was looking at me from my bed. I told them that wasn't feasible. The words came out flat and rough. My daughter passed away 31 years ago. There was a break. Hello, Mr. Garrison. I know that's insane, but this woman has. Knowing the name. She says her name is Jennifer Stronghold. She had a mark on her left side when she was born. Shoulder blade in the shape of a crescent moon. She says you used to call it her. When she was a kid, she felt the moon was lucky. Not breathing anymore. No one knew about that. Just family members. We would never said anything about it in any alerts for missing people. Alerts. Didn't tell the cops. It was our own thing. An idea I had. She was 3 years old and afraid of. In the dark. Thanks, Mr. Garrison. The voice ended. You said she is where? The mental health hospital on Paul Street. Unit. She was brought in 2 days ago. After gaining support in a tough spot. She's fine now, but she still wants you. She says she knows herself better now. I looked at the clock. 3:49 in the morning, Victoria, British Columbia. It took 4 hours to get there from Kelowna. 5. If I'm on my way, but the roads are busy. I hung up. Before she could say anything more, before I could properly think about what I did before 31 years of sadness could talk me out of it. My wife. Now that Margaret was awake, she could see me. That thoughtful look she gives you when she thinks I will do something. Not paying attention. Who was that? Someone says. They discovered Judy. She stood up straight. I know, Bill. I had already putting on the jeans and shirt I wore yesterday. From the chair. I know what it sounds like. But she was aware that there was a mark on her skin. Maggie. She knew that the moon was a good sign. Margaret's face changed color. We had calls over the years, 2 times in the first 10 years. Mostly people who are trying to trick you. Those who read about us going missing. They felt they could take advantage of their daughter. A family that is sad. We knew how to look. Get them fast. They had made a mistake with the details. But the moon was lucky. It wasn't the same. I'm coming with you. Margaret stated this as she grabbed for her clothes. I didn't say it very loudly. I thought. Not yet. Check this out. First. I'll call you if it's true. Right away. If it weren't for. Finish that sentence. If not, things are going to go wrong, and I need you here. I have something to do because I'm strong and whole. Go back to. She understood. After 42. Even though they had been married for years, she always. I understand. Going to Vancouver was. 4 hours have never felt so lengthy to me. Many people have gone on this trip, but. Not like this. Not like this. There was awful, weak hope in my. It was like a burning coal in my chest. I kept the radio shut off. I needed to be by myself to think. Don't forget, so I can be ready for anything. I was going to find out. It had been Jennifer. 17. We last saw her. On December 14th. 1993. After that, she went to a friend's place. She stated she was heading to class. We found out later that she had really gone to look for a guy. We were wrong about him. She was dating a nice guy from. He was 23 years old and in physics class. He worked in a garage on the east side. They fought. He left her at 11 p.m. at a bus stop on Hastings Street. Being alone and crazy is bad. A few areas in town. She had never been there before. Home. It had been 3 years since we looked. Set up signs and cooperated with the police. We didn't have enough money to hire private detectives. Spend. Margaret stopped going to bed. I ceased doing things that weren't working or look for. We were almost done with our marriage. Because of it. Then, in 1996, they found body parts. Lady. Found to be between the ages of 17 and 19. Out in the woods, far from Mission. Teeth. The records didn't help at all. The body had. It had been hurt for too long. Very large. But there was confirmation of something more. A jacket that looked like Jenny's. Had been on. A ring made of silver that. It might have been her. The people that looked into the crime scene. They said they were sure about 70% of the time. 70% had been. That's enough. We had a memorial service. They put an empty coffin in the ground and tried to move it. Go ahead. But certain days I thought I had. I recently got to Vancouver. After 8 in the morning Paul Street. The hospital situated in the center of town. I had driven past a big building 1,000 times without truly paying attention. It was now very close to me. And didn't care. I parked my car and went for a walk. Asked for through the door. Patricia Chen is at the assistant's desk. I saw her again in the lobby 15 minutes later. Soon. In his late 30s, with compassionate eyes and the face that had been hurt too much. Even though they were rude. Thank you, Mr. Garrison for. She shook my hand and added, thanks for coming so quickly. Get ready to see her. Jennifer has had a lot to deal with. We think she has been through an episode of dissociation that was brought on by. She has been coping with memories that have come back. For a few years now, but with a different name. What name? Melissa for 30 years. The woman has been in Vancouver for the. Mr. Garrison, I worked the whole time. A lot of jobs, especially in the service industry. She has been sleeping on the street. She saw an old placard that indicated someone was lost. There are signs up for Jennifer Garrison. It had been posted on social media, which was an initiative to urge people to look into cold cases. When she viewed the picture, something broke. Walked through halls that smelled like things to clean and polish the floor. I thought my heart was going to stop. Things may go wrong. Then she stated she was getting flashbacks. Thoughts of the past. A house that was blue. Doors and windows. A mother who prepared cinnamon Saturday morning rolls. A father who made her a treehouse, but she was scared of heights, so she had to go up. I stopped first to check that it was safe. I had forgotten about the house and the tree. We had a tree home in our yard. Outside of our old house, the one we sold after Jenny went missing because couldn't tolerate the sight of her empty chamber. Not anymore. I did it this summer. She turned 9 and laughed so hard she passed out. Seeing me shake on the ladder. I held on to the rung so firmly that my knuckles hurt. The treehouse, Mr. Garrison, turned out white. I said, I did it. I was afraid. People in high places faces. Before we leave, you should know this. Before you step in, know that she's terrified too. I'm worried you'll get angry. She shouldn't have been there. You scared me. You won't trust her, and even worse, you won't trust yourself. They'll trust her and not want her back. That's crazy, after all this time. She quit because stress doesn't make sense. There is a door in front of her that says 412. I'll give you some space here, but if you need me, I'll be outdoors. Anything, she responded as she opened the door. This room was quite small, like most hospital rooms. A window with shades, a bed, and a chair. Half drawn. A woman was sitting in the chair next to. The sun was shining in through the window in the morning, so At first, I couldn't see her face very well. When I walked in, she slowly got up. I wasn't sure if her legs would be strong enough to hold her up. She was too old to move or breathe. She was 48 years old now, not 17. Her hair was. Jenny's hair was shorter and lighter than hers. Too soon with gray hair. She was slender, and her face had creases from a long time ago that I hadn't noticed. She was wearing clothes that someone else had given her. A pair of old sweatpants and a t-shirt, and she stood with her shoulders back like she was striving to get smaller. Jenny did see her own eyes, though. The same weird blue-gray tint in the eyes. With green specks, precisely like seeing you straight on and a little. Dad, she didn't give up, even when she was afraid. That word broke me. Same moment over and over again in the. No one has seen her in years. I've always had a strong mentality. Tranquility and the help she needed. I shook instead of crying. I couldn't make it through with tears flowing down my face. She cautiously moved forward and said words. I still don't know everything. I do remember you, though. I recall that you taught me how to make a treehouse. How you rode your bike and ran in the driveway. For 3 hours behind me, even if. I recall that your back hurt. You used to read me Narnia novels before I went to sleep. Giving each voice a turn. Jenny, I don't think I can be her again. I can't speak anymore, and I'm not sure if I'm still alive. For a long time, I've been someone else. For a long time, I kept us apart. I pulled her into my arms after we walked 3 steps. At first, she didn't know what to do and was stiff. Then they sat down next to me like a doll. She smelled awful and had her strings cut. Not like the girl. Like my daughter. Who wore strawberry shampoo and she had too much of her mom's fragrance. It smelt like fear and hospital soap. Years of hard effort, but when I could feel the shape when I closed my eyes. Remembered her. How well her head fit on mine. Shoulder, she had been that tall all her life. At that age, she was pretty tall for her age. I told her, "You're still alive," when she was 15. "You're still alive," she said in a whisper. That's all. We stood there for a long time and said, "That matters." In the end, she was on time on Saturday. I was sitting on the edge of the chair. A bed in the hospital. And she did it gently, with breaks. Started to tell what she remembered. That night, when she was last seen, she got off the bus in Hastings, Maine. It made her cry and angry at the boyfriend, angry with herself for lying to him. We were angry with everyone. She'd began to walk without paying. Knowing where she was heading. A woman came up to her. Asked her if she was okay and cared about her. I did say I would get her coffee and pick her up. In a safe place. After that, everything was parts. Different portions are spread out in different places. Idea that she had kept to herself for long. She had known for 31 years that she didn't. They were sure it was real. There had been other girls, a house that moved, or they might have been transported to a. I didn't know what to think about the houses. Years of being Melissa Morrison, coming a part of a girl who had been in the system with made up papers and an past, years of hard struggle just to stay alive. What she had to do to eat, sleep, and stay alive. Thoughts of the past were coming up. Putting it back together piece by piece over the previous 5 years. She said things that didn't fit well. What happened to her? How you feel? What her real name was, and it wasn't Melissa Morrison. Name. I'd want to live in a house with blue shutters. Clothes. About cinnamon from a mom. A parent who was scared of things. But she didn't get it until she saw the heights. The sign 3 days ago, hers. She looked at the face of a 17-year-old girl. From a message online that everything has stopped working. I lost myself, she remarked. She believes it was a breakdown in her mind. However, it seemed more like getting up. I felt like I hadn't slept in 31 years, and I suddenly remembered that I had too. Someone else. I heard them. I didn't. They didn't ask any questions, they just spoke up. Allow her to speak. Some of what she said made sense. Part of it made sense, but part of it didn't. Like memories of awful things that happened. But through it all, there. Small things that mattered. That the crook couldn't have known. When we went to the movies, I invariably burned the popcorn. She has a scar on her knee from falling at night. She fell off her bike when she was 7. Making the boy next door like them. The dumb fight we had last week. How did she go missing about the time she went to bed? I told her she couldn't do anything, and she screamed that she despised me and they had. Those were the last things we said to each other. I didn't hate you, she informed him. I was 17 years old, she stated. I felt you were dumb and didn't detest you. I know for sure. It ached so much that I had to. All I could say was, I know, sweetheart. Someone knocked on the door. I know. Patricia said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bother you, but Jennifer has too. Mr. Garrison, take a rest. There are several. We need to discuss about some things. We went into the hall because it was time to chat. Patricia didn't say anything. We need to make sure she is who she says she is with a DNA test. Who you are. But what you said makes me think. I don't think there's much room for doubt. The cops will want to talk to her. Trafficking has a definite job. Force that people will be highly interested in. For her, and she'll require a lot of. Mr. Garrison, she has been to therapy. Is like losing everything that makes you who you are. It will take some time to get everyone to work together. Months or perhaps years. She can have whatever she wants. There is one more thing, Patricia hesitated. The body you buried in 1996. We need to look at them again. Someone else is living Jen's life. In that grave lies a person with their daughter. Someone else's family should know the. Because I was focused on Jenny, I neglected the truth. That made me think about life. I felt the effects like It hurt. We had been together for 31 years. I felt awful for her, but somewhere. There might still be another family that is looking. We had to wait because we never got any news. Because we had their daughter's corpse. And said it was ours. I'll talk to I said, police, we'll do anything today. Patricia nodded, and I knew what I had to do. Sir, I have a hard question for you. Are you ready, Garrison? No. Not just today, but for a long time. Jennifer isn't the girl you lost. She might never be that girl again. She is a woman who is 48 years old and has been through a lot in the last 30 years. Talents that can help you go through hardship and stay alive. That could be hard for you to accept or understand. Getting back together won't be easy. She's my daughter, the words were clear. It doesn't matter who she had to be. I don't care what she did or how she got through it. What happened to her? She's my daughter. I've had 31 years to mourn her passing. I called right away. Margaret from the parking lot of the hospital. I told her everything. She was in the car. Long before I was done. Not be talked out of going. I was also. Thanks. I didn't need her strength or. The DNA test took 10 minutes, and the results came back in 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks and 5 minutes to offer. Procedure. I guess those were the longest 2 weeks of my life. More than the first. After 2 weeks without seeing Jenny. Because I still had faith in that period. I was encouraged now that there were no problems. Stuck between dread, guilt, and a great need for this to be. Julie and I went to the. Jenny wishes she could go to the hospital a lot. Someone told Melissa to call Jenny immediately away. Morrison had to go to jail. Becoming more and more present with time. There weren't as many times when people dissociated. More often. Every day, she remembered more things. She thought about the blue shutters on her mom's house and the cinnamon pastries. Thinking of the blue shutters on the rolls. Do you remember the cat we had in our old house? Winston died when she was 15. She also remembered stuff we didn't. Check to see if there are things from the 31 that aren't there. She cried over some of them for years. I wanted to rip the world apart. With only my hands. But we did listen. She was there since that was her job. Have to. DNA came back on A. She told me to come to her office on Tuesday. Office to tell me the news, even. We all knew what it would say. It's a tie, Garrison. Jennifer is. I agreed, but I didn't know what to say about your daughter. Not even a word. There's more. The police have started their inquiry into the 1996 is left, they were able to get rid of DNA, and they have put it through They checked the national database and discovered a match. Rebecca Kim was the girl in the grave. She was last seen in Shuriri in 1995. They told her relatives. One more. I thought about my family. One more dad who'd. For decades without knowing. For now, at least. At least they would know what to do now. They may bury their real daughter, for example. Saying goodbye in a true sense. It didn't matter what. It was wonderful what happened to Rebecca. Nothing could. That was okay, but it may have given her a little bit of something for the family. Peace. 3 weeks later, Jen returned back to her house. That initial call. Not to the house. Margaret and I now owned a condo. Kelowna got smaller when the kids left. We assisted them move into a little place to live. To pay her rent in Vancouver, but she wasn't ready. To stay in the city. Should have been. Close to Patricia and her therapists. To all of Melissa's friends. Williamson. She let go of that slowly. We helped her preserve her sense of self while she let it go. Margaret acquired her towels and dishes from here. A chair that makes her feel good. I gave her bookshelves, and I teased her about how I still. In the end, he actually wasn't very skilled with a hammer. That made her happy for years. It was a feeble smile, but it was sincere. Our sons went to see her. David didn't like that. Michael was 14 years old and Michael was 11 years old when they last saw their big sister. They recalled her, but for some reason. Things from childhood that aren't always true and rose-colored. The woman they encountered was someone they didn't know who had the same DNA, but they did their best. They brought pictures, helped her remember things she had lost. Don't forget. David told her about his children. She had never met her niece and nephew before. Michael told her about his work and his. She cried about her spouse and the life he had made. Moment they got there. Sad for years. They didn't care about her anymore. They may have had. But slowly. We took our time to make something new. The cops are investigating into what happened. To Jenny was still going on. She had been able to tell them a few things, but not too much. She still had trouble remembering things. There had been a group of people who sold other people. They said they were in the East Downtown area. Sighed, carrying on for decades. Most of the first persons to do it were either dead or in jail. He was already in jail for prior crimes, but the work. The cops were following up on every available possibility. Janet gave testimony behind closed doors. Liz and Margaret. I stood outdoors with my hand on his while our daughter went through the worst of. She died for what was right. After that, she'd come out shaking. We would. Took her to get coffee, which is something she enjoys to do lately. We needed it all the time. We drank coffee. The rhythm and comfort of it, and then sat down. I thought she was working with me. I'll feel better, she said. Tell them everything. I thought it might work. Could it help? I don't know yet. She was holding her coffee cup with both hands. Looking at the dark liquid. I'll see you in a year. That was 4 months ago. It was already March, and the flowers were starting to bloom in. Jen contacted to ask about Vancouver. If we ever wanted to come over. We met her at the door of her apartment. I was astonished by how different she was. It was nice that she had gained weight. Margaret continued repeating she had been one of them. We thought she was too skinny to be safe. Her hair was longer and exposed more of the reddish-brown tint that I always thought of her as. She wore trousers and a sweatshirt when she was a kid. Those fit her well, not the ones she gave away. She looked like she was wearing clothing from the hospital. Not the 17-year-old, but more like her own self. Who was seen but not totally gone. Someone else, not Melissa Morrison. Someone who was having fun being both. She stated she drank coffee. I was too embarrassed to cook cinnamon rolls. I had to call my mom to acquire the recipe for the rolls. They did it 3 times to be sure it was properly, and they are. Not even close to hers. Margaret said everything will be okay. We sat down and hugged her. A little meal on a little kitchen table. The rolls didn't taste good with the cinnamon. It means to let someone off the hook, to offer them another chance. We never do it every Saturday morning. Jenny said she had, but she might still get. She was allowed to go to trade school. She wanted to be a social worker so she could help others who had been trafficked. Worker, aid persons who have been trafficked. Prayed she could make her nightmare into something. Into something that could be of assistance to someone. I thought about how delighted I was with. She was a woman who had been through the not helpful, who had lost herself and finding her way back, who was making the choice to keep going instead of getting stuck. I've been thinking about the past. Treehouse, she queried out of the blue. Do you? Dad, do you recall how afraid you were when you were up high? Height? I remember. Why did you do that? Why did you do it if you were so scared? I stared at. Her daughter was sitting next to her at the table. Who had died and then returned back to life. Had been lost and found, and who? Melissa was Jenny, and Jenny was Melissa. I said, just because you wanted one. Because you were mine, and I would have. If you had asked me to, I would have climbed Everest. She smiled for real, the kind of smile that she said, that's good. Because I think I might need you to. We need to climb a few more hills before we can, then I'll do it. I said, how many mountains are there? I'm never going to go. I genuinely meant it. It had been 31 years. They were gone for good, but we had it now. They didn't require time. Also, meant to have fun every second of it count. Since my daughter came back home not the same, not whole, not better, yet life